Hi there. My name is Dani Henderson, and I am a clinical hypnotherapist and a neurolinguistic programmer at practitioner level. What does that mean? It means I listen to adults who are in pain, and I listen to children and teenagers who are in pain. One of my specialties is kids of divorce. Now, this book here is full of children age 10 to 19 years old in this book. Kids of Divorce by Dani Henderson, clinical hypnotherapist. That's the CHDIP part. So you can go on my website, Dani Spiritual Therapist, and look for this book, NLP Prac CHDIP. Now, don't be impressed with the letters after my name. They just make me look clever. Here's the point. Christmas is coming up. You know what that means? It means that a lot of children, teenagers of divorced parents, they're going to be stressing out. The parents who haven't healed their own wounds yet, their inner child wounds and their adult wounds from breaking up with their husbands and their wives, etc. They're going to be arguing who's going to have the kids on Christmas Day, Boxing Day. We do Boxing Day in Britain, which is the day after Christmas. Who's going to have the kids on Christmas Eve? And, you know, there's so much competition between the adults. Then there's the grandparents that they tend not to be as bad as the parents. And then you've got like Julie's sister, you know, Alice, and Alice is all getting her nose involved in making things worse. And it is such a horrible, horrible time of pressure for everybody. Christmas, the holidays. But, you know, I don't know about you, but it's not about us adults. It is about the children. It's always going to be about the children. It's always been about the children. It was always about you when you were a child at Christmas. If you're a kid of divorce, what did you have to go through? Or your parents separated, or your mum had a new boyfriend and your dad was having a breakdown. You know, we need to focus on the children, guys, the teenagers. Now, in my clinic, on my online practice that I'm actually going to be suspending for the next 6 months, it's why I want to bring you some information and bring you the book so you got some help. You want a stocking filler? You want a stocking filler to help the family? Kids of Divorce by Dani Henderson. Bloody green screen. I should have turned it off before I got on here. Kids of Divorce by Dani Henderson, NLP Prac CHDIP. It's on my website, Dani Spiritual Therapist. This book is written by the children, the 10 to 19-year-olds, telling you all of their stories, the things they've gone through. I did interviews with twins, a boy and a girl twin, 10 years old, to show that we imagine all the kids that go through divorce, they're just going to get through it. They experience such varied and different emotions and feelings. This little boy, Bob Johnson, in the book, he's a twin, and for years he thought his mum and dad divorced because his dad wouldn't go and buy his mum soup because she was ill, you know, whereas the daughter, his 10-year-old sister, she was livid that her father, every time he had her, would want her to learn how to surf, but she didn't want to surf because she wanted to show her daddy what a good artist she was. And she kept saying, can you buy me art supplies? Can we go to the art store? But her daddy was like, no, I want to teach you surfing. It's like not listening to the children, the parent trying to impose themselves, always trying to peacocking to the other parent. It's not about you. It's about the children, honestly. Now, you know, things like we've got divorced parents, we've got separated parents, we've got families, blended families. It's so awkward for the children, you know, in blended families. Often you've got women really trying to please the new dad, you know, they're not all thinking about the children. There's so much pleasing going on. There's so much nonsense going on. There's so much dishonesty going on. If you're in a position where you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with the kids on Christmas Day? Their grandma wants them for half a day. Have 2 Christmas days. Have 2 birthdays. Have 2 days where you're not cutting your child in two or your children in two. You know, when you really look at why you fight your ex so much, often it's because you are so angry inside and you will not take responsibility and you will not look at your own wounds and you are going to blame the man that left you or blame the woman that left you. The quickest healing for you, the adults, and your beautiful children is for you to have a look in the mirror, for you to have a look at your wounds. It is just amazing how many times I've sat with parents who are in agony, in pain, and I've said to them, tell him what he's doing right. And then she'll say to her husband, let's say, for example, thank you for picking the kids up every Thursday. Thank you for bringing them on time. Thank you for always making sure you're there at school events and sports days. And, and then the dad then feels great and says to the mum, thank you for taking the kids full time. Thank you for keeping them clean. Thank you for keeping them safe. And, then the mum might be, do you think you could bung me a few more quid every month? I'm really struggling here. I'm doing the best I can. But our son now has chronic anxiety since you and I broke up. I have to be on call 24/7 to go pick him up if he needs me. There's so much that happens within the family environment. There's so many things that happen after there's a breakup. Your breakup affects your children in ways you can't even imagine, because half the time they don't even tell you. They walk around with guilt and shame that doesn't belong to them. They're trying to protect their mummy. They're trying to protect their daddy. They're trying to protect their parents. They see the parents struggling. They see the parents emotional, or they have a rage against them. There's so many things that you, the adult parents, can do to support your children, especially around Christmas. There are kids, oh God, heartbreaking. There are children looking at the Christmas tree, knowing that their dad's not going to put a present under there for them because their dad's with his new family and his new wife and his new kids, and the single mom's going to do the best she can to make that a good Christmas. But those little boys are not going to have their dad. And to the dads that do that, let me tell you something. Don't you be thinking those boys are going to come looking for you when they're 18, that you're all arrogant. You're like, the boys will find me one day. Those boys won't come looking for you. Why should they? Step up, dads. Oi, mums. Stop criticizing your children's fathers. Knock it off. Stop withholding access to that children's dad. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. It's not okay. If the parents love their children, then we, even as parents, have no right to deny access. I mean, there's obvious reasons why you wouldn't, raging pedophiles, for example, but come on. Most of the time, it's just you guys being bitchy, and we all know it. We all do it. We've all done it. This book, Kids of Divorce by Dani Henderson, goodness sake, is an absolute joy. It's for the kids. It's a really short book. So if you've got a 10-year-old little girl who's going through a divorce right now, she can read about a 10-year-old little girl. If you've got a 15-year-old boy who's really confused, there's a 15-year-old boy in this book sharing his story, sharing his pain. I ask the kids questions like, what would you say to your mum about the divorce? And the kids are giving their messages. And 9 times out of 10, the kids say to their mums, Mum, please stop saying horrible things about my dad. It really hurts my feelings. And the kids say to their dads about their mums, please support us. Please come and see us. Please don't leave our lives. Please be in our lives. Please help my mother. Please send more money to support my mother. 9 times out of 10, that's what's happening. And for those of you who are all obsessed with the gender synonyms right now, just please leave. This is not for you. This broadcast is not for you. This is for kids of divorce and their parents and their grandparents. Oh my God, grandparents. In my clinic too, so many women over the years. I've been in therapy for 20 years. How many grandparents have come? Grandparents are so broken. They are tortured. They're not allowed to access their own grandchildren. Hey, lady, just because you hate your husband, you're going to stop his mum and dad seeing their grandchildren? You know how helpful and useful grandparents are? Can you imagine that happening to you? That you love your daughter's baby. Oh my God, you love your daughter's baby. Yeah. And then she gets divorced and then her husband gets custody and you no longer can see your daughter's baby. Think about that. This is what's happening, guys. This is what happens. So what can you do? Get this book, read the stories, get into the hearts and minds of these children. There's different subjects in here. I've covered birthdays, Christmas, weddings. What about if your adult children really want to get married after you screwed up? It takes two. It takes two. There's that taking responsibility. I know it's annoying. I know it's triggering, but how else are you going to heal? if you don't step up and don't be a victim on it and don't be a martyr. There's a very strong difference. Just be in the middle, own your shit, own your stuff, take responsibility. Honestly, it is such a beautiful way to heal. So let's say that your kids, after all your mess ups, you and your ex-husband or your ex-wife or whatever, that your kids go, you know what, Dad, Mum, we want to get married. How lovely if they want to do that. How great. You didn't break them that bad that they don't ever want to get married. And then now these grown-up children, they've got to deal with your drama. They have to deal with you, the mother, who don't, what do I wear? Where do I sit? Don't you dare bring your girlfriend or your wife. I mean, sure, awful. If your husband went after a 20-year-old or somebody way younger and wants to bring them to the wedding, it's humiliating. I mean, best thing there is leave the new wife at home. Leave the spouses at home. Let's not put here's my new family. Good for you. Great. But do you have to rub it in everyone's face? Can you not just focus on the children getting married? Can you just put your own wars aside and think about the young children, the young adult children who are now getting married? Hey, can you just have a conversation? Can you get together with your ex and say, listen, our kids are getting married. Isn't that beautiful? Let's put aside our differences. Thank you for giving me my child. Have a little think about that. If you want to get deeper, there's things in the book. I've done top tips for teens and kids, things to really help them, just tips to help them get through the trauma and the drama, mostly of you parents that stress them out the most because of your divorce and how you've handled it and the years after. And there's also top tips for parents on how to handle your divorce best with your children. So my name is Dani Henderson, Danielle Henderson. This is my book, Kids of Divorce. You can find it. It is on Amazon, but I really don't support Amazon or any monopoly. And, they take most of the funding. Whereas it actually costs thousands to, bloody hell, this bloody green screen. It costs thousands to publish a book. So it's Kids of Divorce by Danielle Henderson, clinical hypnotherapist, and it's on my website. It's a great stocking filler. If you're going to buy one for your ex-husband, make sure you read it too. Don't be a smart ass. This is a healing book. This is a coming together book. This is a book. It's so easy to read. Give it to your kids. Let them read it. Let them find children across the world in different countries who've gone through divorce, because the kids in this book, it's too late for them. It is too late for them. But it might not be too late for your kids. And do you know how many parents have stayed together and found a route through, not to please their kids, because our kids are too smart. Don't be a smart ass. Don't think you're going to outsmart your children. If you are miserable and unhappy and you just cannot do the rest of the marriage, don't stay in it for the sake of the children, because it also has its own offering. The last resort has to be divorce. And in the meantime, if you can get together with your partner that you're in pain with, and you can sit down and you can tell them what they're doing right, start there. Here's what you're doing right. Not to go on to what you're doing wrong. Here's what you're doing right. It breaks down all kinds of barriers. So, Kids of Divorce, stick it in your stockings, give it as Christmas presents. It's as cheap as chips. Go to my website, Dani Spiritual Therapist, or you can just look up my name, Danielle Henderson or Dani Henderson. This will help you a lot. From my heart to yours, I send you lots of love. Remember, it is all about the children, especially during the holiday time. It is not about you, the adult. It is about the children. Let's help them heal. Let's help them get through. And at the same time, I wish you great healing and loving for yourself too. I'll see you soon.